This guy was the richest man in Korea until one day he died of a heart attack. To his surprise, he was reborn in the body of a child, but not in his own body, but in the body of a child from a very poor family. Now he has to rise from dirt to princes with knowledge from the past to become a billionaire again. Seoul, the year is unclear. Breaking news. It's announced on TV. The shareholders' meeting of Samjeon Group, one of the country's 3 business giants, is over. After 13 hours of intense negotiations, the new chairman is Yoon Sung-guk. Shining like a rock star amidst the camera flashes, he officially takes office. Unlike other Chaebol descendants who failed due to scandals and incompetence, Jong Sung-guk holds his own with confidence. He is the epitome of success. In his robe, standing on the roof, he yells with delight, "Muka ha ha ha, praise me some more." He's not just ambitious, he loves being the center of attention. They call him King Samjong, and he responds with pathos, "Oh yes, it's me, Jung Sung-guk." Ever since he was a kid, he wasn't just an honor student and an athlete. He studied abroad and looked after his stupid brothers and sisters at the same time. He fixed his uncle's joints, took care of his wife after a marriage of convenience, and emphatically states, "I have everything perfect." Moreover, he carefully built the image of an ideal heir. He even took first place among the third-generation Chaebols in the people's rating, and it's all Yoon Sung-guk from Samjeong. The internet is abuzz with comments. Some people wonder why Yoon Sung-guk looks like a regular neighborhood boy, and some say he's attractive, but most of them say one thing. Have you seen how much money he has? Guk himself just smirks smugly. Perfect. He enjoys his wine, relaxedly, fixes his hair and says, "Haha, fine. Naturally, I will become the owner of Samjeon Group." Inspired by the moment, he looks at his phone and solemnly declares, "This is a new beginning." Now that he's at the helm, he's going to purge the company of the old garbage. His first step is to get rid of Yongdae-guk's men. With a grin, like a cartoon villain, he makes devious plans and enjoys it. But suddenly everything changes. His face contorts in shock. Something is clearly wrong. He falls to the floor, blood and spilled wine beside him. His heart is racing. He can't breathe. In a panic, he raises his eyes to the portrait on the wall and whispers, "It can't be." The portrait shows the founder of Samjeon Group, his grandfather, who died of a heart attack. And then he screams, "No, not me, someone, like me, to die of a heart attack." And at that moment, someone pinches him on the cheek and says, "Well, well, well, son." In front of him are young parents with joyful faces holding an infant in their arms. The mother tenderly addresses the child by the name of Guk. Inside the baby, there is shock and absolute incomprehension as to how he came to be in such a body. He's confused. He looks in the mirror and sees not a grown man, but a round baby with big eyes. Someone nearby is thrilled at how cute he is, but he is stunned. Unable to stand it, he grabs his head and screams in panic. He is in a child's body, and the parents continue to revel and do not realize that their baby is a grown man with ambitions. Lying in his crib, he is dressed in a yellow jumpsuit, and the pacifier in his mouth only adds to the sense of absurdity. The mother, Kim So-yeon, looks at her son with admiration and proudly calls him handsome. She is happy and has no idea who is really in front of her. The father, Jung Ji-sung, agrees, saying that their baby is cuter than the children of stars. He is genuinely proud of his son and his looks. The parents sit next to the baby, exchange compliments, and keep saying how lucky they are to have such a beautiful child. But to the baby, it all sounds like bullying. His patience is wearing thin. When he hears another, "It's a good thing you're so handsome," he boils up inside. In protest, he spits the pacifier sharply in his father's direction. He is confused. He doesn't understand what has happened or what this reaction is. And finally, it all comes out in tears. The baby is crying, but it is not just a child's cry. It is the cry of an adult soul that does not understand how it got into the body of a baby. He recalls his ideal parameters: 183 centimeters of height, 75 kilograms of weight and strength that allowed him to push 500 kilograms. Now he's a crying baby. All the greatness is gone. In the past, he was the heir to a perfect body and perfect genetics. Born into a wealthy family, he became the head of a conglomerate. He called himself King Samjong. He can't believe he's stooped to this level, and worst of all, he's now the child of an ordinary poor couple. Young, no family, no fortune. He, the former elite, is now the son of bankruptcy. Just recently, he was about to enjoy an expensive wine for millions alone. This was the peak of his enjoyment, and now they hand him cheap formula in a plastic bottle and affectionately offer him milk to drink. This is not life. It's a mockery. He protests, screams that it's cheap formula and drinking it is humiliation. But against the instincts of an infant, even his pride is powerless. When he sees the bottle, he looks at it with loving eyes. He stretches out his arms and mumbles incomprehensible sounds. He begins to drink greedily. He is shaking with emotion, but he can't stop. The first thing even a proud grown man in a baby's body can't resist is milk. The mother is delighted to notice how well he eats and praises him. Meanwhile, he's burping like a normal baby. A real moment of humiliation, and then it gets worse. His father kisses him on the forehead and calls him his handsome son. He flinches. He's too embarrassed because he's a grown man, and this is too weird for two guys. On what was supposed to be the best day of his life, Jong Sung-guk suddenly loses consciousness and awakens in the body of a baby. But the hardest thing for him was not to be a baby, but to get used to those who were now called his parents. Their warm smiles made him uneasy. There was no way he could get used to their excessive benevolence. Too much affection, too much tenderness, all this made the former chairman cringe and feel uncomfortable. His new parents were the complete opposite of what he had known. He didn't understand how it was possible to live in such love and care. Such parents had never existed in his life before. Jung Sung-guk's own parents were cold and aloof. He grew up in luxury, but he never knew what warmth and attention were like. His mother would go to work without even saying goodbye, leaving him with a dry phrase, "You know what to do." It was not her job to take care of him. His father, too, was far from involved. He was only shifting responsibility to Chan himself, instructing him to keep an eye on his younger brothers as if they were business projects. Dae-guk was particularly annoyed with the younger brother who took advantage of this position and openly commanded the older brother as if he were a mere servant. Now, finding himself in the body of a child, Sung-guk jumped up from the bed with anger. He remembered too well what had happened in his past, and he wasn't going to obey again. He decides now is not the time for sentimentality. He has to act now. His childish body is a temporary obstacle, but the chairman's mind is still with him. The baby is lying in his crib, staring glumly at the ceiling. He still can't accept being a child and feels humiliated. Gradually, he is overcome by sleep. This is the second strongest temptation that infants cannot resist. He falls asleep, lulled to sleep by tiredness and warm milk. His parents look at him fondly and whisper that he is adorable. The young father asks his wife to rest a little while the child sleeps, because he himself will soon prepare dinner, but she refuses and insists that they do everything together. After all, he has to go to work soon, too. He suggests she just relax and watch TV, but the news suddenly shows a high-profile scandal. The chairman of Samjong Corporation, John Ju Shin, is accused of bribery. An investigation by prosecutors confirmed the allegations, and now the story is making headlines in the media. The very same chairman appears on the screen. He has personally arrived for questioning, and it amazes everyone. The baby suddenly sits up, shocked by what he sees. His young mother is surprised. It's the first time she's ever seen a baby sit up at that age. Then our baby realizes it's his late grandfather. Seong moves closer to the television, his eyes fixed on the image of his grandfather. There is no mistaking it. He remembers this moment vividly. The year he turned 10, his grandfather had been exposed for bribing politicians using apple boxes, forcing him to stand trial. Those who feared the growing power of Samjong Group had seized the opportunity, labeling the corporation as corrupt and reliant on bribery. But Seong knew better. To him, wealth was power, and connections were an even greater superpower. The Rias, belief that anyone could become rich simply by saving a little at a time, was nothing more than a naive dream entertained by those with nothing. He recalls how, on the day his grandfather appeared before the prosecution, he had been the one pushing his wheelchair. It had been a carefully orchestrated performance to evoke public sympathy, but for Seong, it had marked his debut, the moment he showed the world that he was the rightful heir after his grandfather and father. Yet the real threat had come from within. His younger brother, John Taeyuk, had gone abroad to study but had returned with nothing more than a drug addiction. That arrogant fool had spent his entire life trying to take his place. Seong now realizes that the true problem isn't just that he has become a baby or traveled back in time. It is that his fate, his position, and everything he had worked for are at risk of being stolen from him. Overcome with frustration, he begins to cry loudly. A while later, his mother approaches with a glass of freshly made apple juice, but Seong, lost in his thoughts, pushes it away. He has no time for distractions. Seeing his reaction, his mother grows concerned, just as her husband returns home cheerfully, mentioning that his boss had given him some leftover meat. It is revealed that he currently works as a chef at a nearby jockball restaurant. Noticing Seong's intense focus on the television, his mother signals toward their son. His father, observing the situation, questions whether the child has been watching the news all day. She explains that the moment they turn off the television or change the channel, he starts crying. Determined to change that, his father steps forward with a warm smile, attempting to divert Seong's attention. But Seong, uninterested, grabs his father's finger tightly, demanding through his gaze that the television be turned back on. Seeing his reaction, both parents sigh in disappointment. Meanwhile, Seong's mind remains occupied with far more pressing matters. He needs to gather as much information as possible, details about the current situation, his grandfather, Samjang Group, and most importantly, how to return to his original body. Before he can do anything, his mother abruptly switches off the television. She insists that he has gone too long without eating and needs to rest. Picking him up in her arms, she carries him away, but Seong refuses to accept it. Tears stream down his face as he recalls the desperation with which he had fought to secure his place as Samjang's successor. Was he supposed to simply lose everything to John Taeuk? The thought is unbearable. Desperately, he tries to move toward the television again, but his mother gently reassures him, promising that he can watch it again tomorrow. Exhausted, Seong eventually gives in, falling asleep in her arms. He silently acknowledges the strange changes within him. Perhaps it is because he has become a baby, but his emotions feel chaotic, his thoughts are scattered, and everything seems to be slipping from his control. And yet, when this woman pats him, sleep overtakes him before he even realizes it. Watching their child finally drift off, his father sighs in relief, wondering if he had been like this all day. His mother admits that she is worried. Seong is nearly a year old, but has yet to utter the words mom or dad. Instead, he only stares at the news screen, leaving her anxious about whether she is raising him correctly. Understanding her concerns, her husband pulls her into a comforting embrace. They may not have much, but their love for their son is real. With reassurance, he reminds her that no matter what, their child will grow up just fine. A few days pass, and Seong's frustration reaches its peak. Despite secretly pretending to sleep while listening to the news every day, he has gathered nothing useful. The world continues as if nothing has changed while he remains trapped in the body of a helpless infant. Reality is setting in. His struggle has led nowhere. His mother approaches with a gentle smile, noticing his lack of interest in the television. She asks if he doesn't need the news today, but Seong has already given up. There is no point in trying anymore. Lifting him into her arms, she decides to take him for a walk. A trip to the market for groceries, with a chance to admire the flowers along the way, might lighten the mood. As they step outside, she comments on the pleasant weather, her voice filled with warmth. Just then, the landlord appears, a young woman heading out for work. A brief exchange follows, with the mother noting that she is leaving later than usual. The landlord acknowledges it before heading on her way. Meanwhile, Seong observes her with mild curiosity. He hadn't expected the building's owner to be so young. Arriving at the market, his mother eagerly chats about the prices, mentioning that the bean sprouts here are cheaper and that she plans to make a refreshing soup. She speaks enthusiastically, but to none of it matters. No matter what she buys, his meals are limited to formula milk anyway. Just as he resigns himself to another mundane outing, something catches his attention. Above them, at a nearby construction site, an object begins to fall from a building under construction. The realization dawns instantly. Danger is imminent. A wave of panic washes over both Seong and his mother as the object hurtles toward them. Seong's mother instinctively shields him with her entire body as the heavy metal debris from the construction site comes crashing down. The impact is devastating. Blood seeps from her head as she weakly whispers her last reassuring words to Seong before her eyes close. Nearby, the landlord watches in horror, frozen by the sight. Seong, still in his mother's arms, stares at her motionless form, panic gripping his tiny body. His mind races, refusing to accept the possibility she cannot die. Moments later, the emergency workers rush her to the hospital, informing the doctors of the severe head injury caused by falling debris. Time passes, and eventually, she regains consciousness. Her husband sits beside her, relief washing over him as he sees her wake. Confusion sets in as she immediately searches for Seong. Her husband reassures her that Seong is safe thanks to her, but the child had been terrified when she was injured. As she cradles Seong in her arms, she soothes him gently, assuring him that she is fine and that she is just happy he is unharmed. For the first time, Seong looks up at her, overwhelmed by emotions he can't control. Tears stream down his face, as his mind screams in frustration. Had she even considered how precious her own life was? What would have happened if she had truly died? His mother simply holds him close, her warmth enveloping him in comfort. The room remains silent for a moment before she notices something. The hospital room appears far too luxurious for their financial situation. Questioning it, she turns to her husband, puzzled by the choice of an expensive private ward. Looking slightly embarrassed, he hesitates before explaining that she requires complete rest. But before she can ask further, her gaze falls upon a sign nearby, "Strict bed rest for pregnant women." The realization dawns on her, catching her off guard. As her husband approaches, he gently encourages her to focus on recovery for the next week, ensuring that she rests properly before they can continue the conversation. A nurse enters, reminding them that visiting hours are nearly over. Seong's father acknowledges it, preparing to leave. Before he departs, his wife entrusts Seong to him, asking him to take care of their child on the way home. Outside, as they step into the cool night air, Seong's father considers their options. A bus route leads home, but the fare is an issue. It isn't too far, so walking might be the best choice. Seong, processing his words, is left astonished. Could they not even afford a simple bus ride? This household, by his past standards, was utterly miserable, and yet the realization settles within him. His father, despite the struggles, works tirelessly to provide for his family. His mother, without hesitation, had risked her life to protect him. These people, however different from the life he once knew, are his family now. They are his parents. Lost in thought, he unknowingly utters a single word. His father stops in his tracks, stunned. Then a wide smile spreads across his face as he realizes what just happened. For the first time, Seong has called him Dad. A week passes, and the atmosphere at home is filled with joy. Seong's mother has been safely discharged from the hospital, and to celebrate, a small welcome party is held. His parents beam with happiness, their eyes filled with love as they admire Seong. His mother gushes over how adorable he looks, while his father wholeheartedly agrees, even comparing him to celebrity babies. Seong, however, is left stunned by their carefree attitude. Deep inside, frustration bubbles as he questions their priorities. They had struggled to pay the hospital bills, even avoiding bus fare to save money. With every penny being so crucial, was now really the time for a celebration? Wouldn't it be wiser to ignore unnecessary expenses like a first birthday party? Yet, as that thought lingers, a realization dawns upon him. In his old life, he would have chastised them for such decisions, seeing them as foolish. But now he understands. This is love, a kind of love that money could never buy. A love so deep, that one would even risk their life for it. The past week had given him time to reflect, and he had come to a decision. His parents, despite their efforts, would never escape poverty. Their income barely covered daily expenses, making savings an impossible dream, and soon, a devastating economic crisis would hit. The weight of this knowledge fills him with anxiety, but before he can dwell on it further, an unexpected visitor arrives. His mother, hearing a knock at the door, opens it to find the landlord standing outside. She expresses her surprise at the visit, to which the landlord explains that she had heard about the hospital discharge and wanted to check in. However, that wasn't her only reason for coming. With a curious glance towards Seong, she poses an unexpected question. Had they ever considered making him a child actor? A few days later, Seong and his mother arrive at the venue for the child actor audition. Observing the surroundings, Seong silently evaluates the place, finding it decent enough. His mother, however, seems nervous, voicing her concerns about whether coming here was a mistake. Seong, on the other hand, sees this as a golden opportunity. Without hesitation, she steps inside the building. A brief flashback reveals the conversation with the landlord a few days prior. She had informed Seong's parents about a major TV commercial for a renowned conglomerate, and the company she worked for was holding auditions to cast an important child actor role. She believed Seong, with his striking looks and apparent talent, was a strong candidate. Returning to the present, Seong and his mother stand in the waiting area. Seong is filled with excitement, seeing this as his chance to earn money. Cameras had surrounded him since childhood in his previous life, and he had long mastered the basics of makeup and camera work. Auditions like these were nothing new. Confident in his abilities, he plans to dominate the audition, win all the prize money, and reinvest it for future gains. Just as he revels in these thoughts, a voice calls out from behind, urging them to step inside. Stepping into the elevator, Seong notices a woman holding a baby beside them. He watches in irritation as his mother compliments the child's cuteness. The nanny accompanying the baby introduces him as their young master, but the child's mother reacts coldly, dismissing Seong's mother and questioning her intentions for being at the audition. With a condescending tone, she boasts that her son, Jae-hui, will undoubtedly win. Seong immediately takes offense, his sharp gaze fixating on the woman. She, in turn, is unsettled by the intensity of his stare. Internally, Seong criticizes her extravagant attire, her obvious display of wealth, and the way she drags her nanny around like a servant. To him, she is the textbook example of a privileged, arrogant housewife. Determined, he vows to utterly surpass her child in the audition. Inside the audition hall, the selection process is underway. Contestants are being called in one by one for camera tests, where they are evaluated on how well they appear on screen and their ability to act under bright lights in an unfamiliar environment, a challenge for most young children. Soon, it is child number 10's turn, Lee Jae-hui, the son of the arrogant woman, observing from a distance. Another contestant's parent recognizes her as the wife of Daeokong Paper's owner. Hearing this, Seong recalls the company as a fairly successful, mid-sized business and watches closely to assess her child's performance. Jae-hui is asked to smile for the camera, but instead he grows nervous. His mother encourages him to do so, but the pressure causes him to burst into tears. The staff hesitates, noting that continuing with him crying would be difficult. His mother, however, refuses to back down, insisting that he will stop soon and demanding more time. But with other children waiting, the director decides to move on, calling for the next contestant. Child number 12, John Xiang. The young boy's mother gently places him before the camera. The assistant director signals for his audition to begin. However, before it can start, the arrogant woman forcefully shoves Xiang's mother aside, demanding to watch. Unfazed, Seong sees this as the perfect opportunity to prove his superiority. With absolute confidence, he flashes an endearing smile, instantly capturing the director's attention. Mesmerized, the director rushes to grab his camera, snapping multiple shots while instructing Seong to strike various poses. To his astonishment, Seong follows every direction flawlessly. Watching from the sidelines, the woman sees, with anger as the director, thoroughly impressed, declares Seong a natural-born talent, a true genius. The director, overwhelmed with excitement, immediately decides to proceed with Seong's recruitment. Seong's mother, taken aback by the sudden declaration, struggles to process the situation. She had never considered her son to be especially talented, yet here he was, being called a genius. Stepping forward, the director formally introduces himself and praises Seong's performance, extending a handshake to his mother. He wastes no time in suggesting they finalize the contract, even asking if she has any specific conditions in mind. Still uncertain, she hesitantly expresses her doubts about Seong's supposed talent. Laughing, the director admits that his excitement may have made him rush things, but his judgment remains firm. Seong possesses an undeniable gift. His presence in front of the camera felt natural, and his ability to follow directions was astonishing, almost as if he understood every instruction perfectly. Hearing this, Seong silently acknowledges the truth. He did understand every word. The director expresses his enthusiasm about working with Seong, but before the conversation can continue, the arrogant woman from before erupts in frustration. In a fit of anger, she slams a camera onto the floor, demanding to know what is happening. The final audition had not even taken place yet. It seemed as if the winner had already been decided. Refusing to accept any outcome other than her own child's victory, she voices her protest. Despite the commotion, the selection process moves forward. The two final candidates are announced, Seong and Lee Jae-hui. Their mothers wait with them. In the designated waiting area, anticipation filling the room. Seong's mother watches her son in admiration, still amazed that he made it this far despite the number of beautiful and intelligent children present. To her, he stood out the most. As she continues to reflect on the moment, an unexpected wave of nervousness washes over her. Sensing her discomfort, a nearby nanny gently inquires if something is wrong. Whispering, Seong's mother admits that she needs to use the restroom. The nanny offers to hold Seong while she steps away, and after a brief hesitation, she hands her son over and hurries off. The nanny, observing Seong closely, smiles as she acknowledges just how remarkable he truly is. However, standing nearby, the arrogant woman glares in their direction. Her frustration boils over, and she lashes out, berating the nanny for showing any admiration towards Seong, insulting both the child and the nanny. She makes it clear that she refuses to accept any comparisons between Seong and her son. Terrified, the nanny quickly apologizes. Seong, watching the scene unfold, seethes with anger. He wishes he could retaliate, but for now, he holds back. Moments later, the assistant director enters the room, prompting the arrogant woman to address her immediately. The assistant director scans the area, searching for Seong's guardian. Noticing this, the arrogant woman casually explains that Seong's mother had momentarily left, allowing them to speak freely. Taking advantage of the situation, she expresses her frustration, claiming the audition should have been a mere formality. Her child, she insists, was already chosen as the winner, and having to compete with another contestant was unnecessary. Hearing this, Seong is momentarily stunned. He quickly realizes the truth. This was a staged competition rigged from the start to guarantee Jae-hwae's victory. The assistant director tries to calm the woman, urging her to be patient so they don't attract unnecessary attention. The woman, however, dismisses the concern, reminding her that higher-ups had already made the decision. The director's opinion was irrelevant. Despite this, the assistant director remains cautious, emphasizing that the director's influence cannot be underestimated. Regardless, their focus remains on ensuring Jae-hwae's success, a goal they have thoroughly prepared for by hiring a private tutor, convinced that their victory is inevitable. The assistant director approaches Jae-hwae to begin his practice run, guiding him through the lines he will need to say during the audition. Seong, observing the situation, smirks in amusement. The final audition begins shortly after. The director announces that the baby who can pronounce the lines naturally and perform the required actions will be declared the winner. Seong's mother, watching anxiously, silently prays for her son's success. Meanwhile, Seong remains composed, reassuring himself to stay focused as the audition commences. Seong carefully positions himself to be captured perfectly by the camera. He knows that how he appears on screen will be a crucial part of his score. Across the room, Jae-hwae also begins to move, but his mother, realizing his positioning is off, hurriedly instructs him to shift towards the correct camera. Noticing this, the director suggests skipping Jae-hwae for the moment and proceeding with Seong's test first. He signals for the assistant director to start the line reading. Confident that Seong will fail, she approaches him, believing that without prior practice he won't stand a chance. However, before she can even finish speaking, Seong flawlessly recites the line ahead of her. Stunned, she stands frozen in disbelief. The director, filled with pride, confirms his initial instincts. Seong is undeniably talented. Attempting to salvage the situation, the arrogant woman brings Jae-hwae forward, urging the director to give her son a chance. The director complies, asking Jae-hwae to say, "Daddy," but the child fails to speak and instead bursts into tears. A wave of shock and humiliation washes over his mother. She had meticulously trained him for this moment, yet he was failing at the most basic task. When she voices her disbelief, the director catches on to her phrasing, training. He questions her choice of words, sensing the situation slipping out of control. The assistant director quickly steps in, announcing that the audition has concluded and thanking everyone for their participation. Meanwhile, Seong, standing confidently, acknowledges his own victory. There is no doubt his performance had been superior. This body, this life, had secured its first triumph. However, despite his outstanding performance, the final announcement delivers an expected yet infuriating result. The winner of the child actor audition is declared to be Lee Jae-hwae. Seong and his mother stand in shock, unable to believe the results of the audition. His mother, filled with frustration, turns to the assistant director, questioning how this could happen. She insists that Seong's performance had been outstanding. The assistant director, unfazed, dismisses her concerns, stating that just because Seong had acted cute didn't mean he was suited to be a child actor. Before Seong's mother can argue further, the arrogant woman approaches with a smug expression. She belittles their efforts, mocking them for daring to aim for victory with nothing but charm in their eyes. A low-class child like Seong should be satisfied with second place. After throwing out her condescending remarks, she takes her son and leaves without a second glance. Seong's mother, still reeling from the harsh words, whispers to herself, struggling to understand how someone could be so cruel, especially in front of a child. Seong, however, remains calm. Internally, he reassures himself that everything is going exactly as expected. He had foreseen such corruption and knew that direct confrontation was pointless. Instead of fighting a losing battle, he would adapt his strategy and aim higher. Just then, the director hurried over, requesting a private conversation. His expression is tense, and as he addresses Seong's mother, he reveals the truth. Higher-ups had rigged the audition from the beginning. Apologizing to Seong, he admits that he hadn't meant for him to witness such corruption. Seong, unfazed, simply waits for what will come next. He had seen these kinds of schemes countless times in his past life. There was no point in getting angry. The real power wasn't in fighting against corruption, it was in forming the right connections. The director, still clearly frustrated, asks Seong's mother to bring him to the commercial shoot the following week. Seong immediately recognizes this as his opportunity. A single commercial gig is not his ultimate goal. What he needs is a steady, long-term source of income. If handled correctly, he could turn this into a fortune, one that would support his household and secure a stable future. His mother, still confused, asks why they need to be present for the shoot. The director explains that for baby models, backup models are always arranged as a precaution. Despite selecting a winner, there are concerns about their reliability. To ensure everything runs smoothly, they need Seong to be available as an alternative. As he pleads with her, Seong silently hopes she will agree. Seeing her son's eager expression, the director can't help but chuckle, remarking that Seong seems to understand everything happening around him. If all child actors were as cooperative as him, his job would be much easier. He then hands his business card to Seong's mother, asking for her contact information. She provides it without hesitation, sealing their connection. Days later, Seong and his mother arrive at the filming location, a secluded yet impressive set in the forest. As she takes in the scenery, she expresses her surprise at such a place existing in the middle of nowhere. Before they can explore further, the assistant director appears calling for Seong's mother. The moment Seong sees her, his mind fills with irritation. This was the same corrupt assistant director who had facilitated the rigged audition. Leading them inside, the assistant director acknowledges their presence as the backup model, explaining that the director had informed her of their arrival. As they walk, Seong's eyes land on a familiar object, a third-generation washing machine from Samjang. His mind immediately recalls its impact. This revolutionary drum system had caused a surge in Samjang's stock prices, much to his grandfather's delight. His thoughts are interrupted by the arrival of the arrogant woman, her anger evident as she questions why they are there. To her, they had failed the audition, so their presence makes no sense. Seong's mother calmly explains that the director had invited them as backup models. She then firmly requests that the woman watch her language, reminding her that there is a child present. The assistant director attempts to pacify the situation, justifying Seong's presence as a precaution in case Jae-hoi's condition worsens or a replacement is needed. The arrogant woman scoffs at the idea, insisting that Jae is in perfect condition and that the commercial wouldn't be difficult. Seong, however, observes the child closely. Despite his mother's confident claims, Jae doesn't look to be in top condition at all. Growing more agitated, the woman dismisses them entirely, declaring their presence unnecessary. Before the argument can escalate, an actress named Seon-mi arrives, drawn by the commotion. Curious, she inquires about the children who would be filming with her. The assistant director quickly introduces them, explaining that Jae-hui was the audition winner while Seong was merely a backup model. Seon-mi turns to Jae-hui, offering him a friendly greeting, but the child remains unresponsive. Seeing his lack of reaction, she frowns, seemingly disappointed by his lack of enthusiasm. Without another word, she walks away. Instead, she approaches Seong, who is visibly excited to see her. Smiling warmly, she notes how unusually friendly he is for a baby. His mother, watching the interaction proudly, remarks that Seong has always been affectionate. Amused, Seon-mi admits that she finds him much cuter than Jae-hui. Without hesitation, she asks if she can film with him instead. The arrogant woman, shocked by the suggestion, immediately grabs Seon-mi's wrist, demanding to know what nonsense she is saying. Unfazed, Seon-mi simply looks at her unimpressed and questions who she is to act so entitled. Before the situation can escalate further, a man approaches and places a hand on the arrogant woman's shoulder, his presence instantly commanding attention. Hearing the raised voices, he asks what is going on. The woman, now caught off guard, turns to him and hesitantly questions his identity. Seon-mi, recognizing the man, lights up with excitement, addressing him with familiarity. She expresses her delight at his unexpected arrival. The man is none other than the vice chairman himself, and his presence immediately changes the atmosphere. As Seon-mi approaches him, she asks what has brought him to the shoot. The vice chairman calmly explains that he couldn't miss the commercial shoot for their new product. Meanwhile, Seong, observing the man closely, is struck with disbelief. He had not expected to see this person here. His mind races as he processes. The truth. This man John Jung, the vice chairman of Samjang, is his father. Seong reflects on his father, Vice Chairman Jeon Jae-hyung, wondering what kind of man he truly is. While not as extraordinary as Chairman Jeon Ju-seon, he had proven himself as a competent leader. He played a crucial role in restructuring the company and enhancing its organizational framework during times of crisis. His bold investments in specialized fields earned him a reputation as a forward-thinking business leader, solidifying his place as a capable and successful vice chairman of Samjang. Yet, despite his accomplishments, he had failed in his roles as a man, a husband, and a father. The sight of a chaotic scene before him unexpectedly brings back memories of a man with countless mistresses. When Seong turned 10, his father introduced yet another woman. Just like before, this time it was the 9th mistress, a woman he had erased from his mind the moment he saw her. Seon-mi, now present at the shoot, casually mentions that she is filming with children and points towards Seong with a smile. Vice Chairman Jeon Jae-hyung approaches Seong, observing him closely and commenting on his intelligence. Seong watches him in silence, the word father echoing in his mind. Before their interaction can continue, an assistant reminds the vice chairman that it is time to leave. Acknowledging the schedule, he expresses regret before turning toward a woman with a noticeably arrogant demeanor. His expression softens into a charming smile as he entrusts her with overseeing the filming, leaving her flustered but obediently assuring him that she will do her best. Seong, observing this interaction, understands the weight of his father's influence. The wife of Daeokang Paper's executive would never dare to oppose someone of his stature, though he often seemed like a mere playboy surrounded by women. In crucial moments, he displayed the charisma of a true corporate leader. That was the essence of Jeon Jae-hyung. As he prepares to leave, the vice chairman places a firm yet brief hand on Seong's head, offering a farewell gesture. Watching him walk away, Seong silently reaffirms his own resolve. This life would not mirror his past one. He had finally found something worth calling a family, and he would protect them at all costs. One day, he would build a company greater than Samjang itself. A time would come when their paths would cross again, but when that day arrived, he would stand as an equal. The assistant director interrupts his thoughts, signaling the beginning of the filming process. She instructs everyone to prepare, calling for the child models to wait for their turn. Seong quickly shifts his focus, pushing aside thoughts of his past life. What mattered now was the present. The advertisement's concept is simple: a picturesque villa in the forest, a mother doing laundry as her baby watches. She washes the father's white shirt, stained with sweat, while the Samjang washing machine hums in the background. The machine works its magic, leaving the shirt pristine. The baby, delighted, rubs its cheek against the freshly cleaned fabric before calling for the father. The advertisement would conclude with a shot of the shining washing machine, exuding freshness. In his previous life, this very commercial had been a massive success, winning the prestigious Donghae Advertising Award. The child actor featured in it had risen to stardom. Seong contemplates whether he should be the one starring in it this time. Before he can dwell on the thought, Jae-hui suddenly begins crying uncontrollably. Seon-mi, clearly frustrated, expresses confusion over the baby's behavior. Every time she approaches, he resists and even hits her. Seong's mother, startled, wonders what could be causing such a reaction. But Seong internally feels triumphant. His plan had worked perfectly. He had given the distressed child a simple tip. If he fought back against Seon-mi, he would be sent home early. Somehow, as babies, they had managed to communicate, and Jae had followed his advice flawlessly. The director, observing the situation, finally decides to move on. The first model is dismissed, and preparations begin for the second one. This decision leaves the arrogant woman outraged. She refuses to accept it, insisting that her child was the rightful winner of the role. The director, clearly frustrated, points out that the shoot has been at a standstill for over an hour. The baby refuses to cooperate, repeatedly hitting the actors, making it impossible to proceed. Their schedule demands that they finish filming today. The woman, unwilling to back down, reminds everyone of her family's status. She hastily makes a call, threatening to contact Daeokang's chairman, who deeply cherishes his grandchild. Her intention is clear. She plans to have the entire crew replaced. The moment this declaration is made, tension fills the room. Without warning, Seon-mi steps forward and delivers a sharp slap to the arrogant woman. Shock spreads across the set, leaving both the director and Seong's mother stunned. Even the woman on the receiving end is left speechless, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. Anger quickly takes over as she demands an explanation for such an outrageous act. Seon-mi, unfazed, merely smiles. She expresses her deep dislike for people who create unnecessary chaos on set. While she acknowledges the woman's status as the wife of a Daeokong paper executive, she dismisses the inflated sense of self-importance that comes with it. The director, sensing the rising tension, quickly intervenes and suggests taking the baby inside for a break. However, Seon-mi refuses to step back. Instead, she declares her intent to continue the shoot and makes it clear she wants to film with Seong. As the director calls for everyone to stand by, frustration flickers across the arrogant lady's face. She cannot understand why Seong is being chosen over her son Jae. To her, a lower-class child has no place in this shoot. Meanwhile, Seong's mother reassures him not to pay attention to such remarks. Seong, however, remains unfazed. He recalls how, in his past life, the red recording light of a camera had followed him to his final moments. Acting confidently in front of it had become second nature to him, a skill he had mastered. He knows exactly how to handle the situation. The shoot commences. Seon-mi flawlessly delivers her lines, demonstrating the effectiveness of the washing machine. As she finishes, Seong takes his cue. He grabs the freshly cleaned shirt and smiles, radiating an innocent charm. His performance immediately catches the director's attention. Overjoyed, the director instructs the crew to keep the main camera focused on Seong. His gaze remains fixed on the lens, his expressions precise, his timing impeccable. The director can't believe what he is witnessing. This child has an instinctive grasp of acting. Even Seon-mi is taken aback. She marvels at how naturally Seong performs. As she prepares for the next sequence, the assistant director signals her to proceed. Holding Seong in her arms, she delivers the final lines of the commercial with enthusiasm, completing the scene. The director, watching the synergy between the two, feels completely satisfied. As evening falls, frustration boils over for the arrogant woman. She can't accept that a mere child, just because he looked cute on camera, had replaced her son as the commercial's lead. She voices her anger loudly, questioning the decision. The director dismisses her complaints, reminding her that Jae Hui had failed to perform, while Seong's mother grows a little uneasy about the brewing conflict. Seon-mi reassures her, pointing out that no matter how much the woman protested, the decision had already been made. There was nothing that could be done. If a child couldn't act compared to that, Seong had delivered a flawless performance, even managing to complete the shoot in just 2 takes. Still unwilling to back down, the arrogant woman lashes out, belittling Seon-mi. She criticizes her lack of understanding, emphasizing the significant financial investment she had made in the advertisement. Her anger turns towards the assistant director, accusing them of also benefiting from her wealth. The director, hearing this, turns to the assistant director in disbelief, demanding an explanation. The woman, now completely enraged, declares that she wants nothing more to do with the commercial. She vows to sue everyone involved before storming off with her child. Once she is gone, the director turns to Seong's mother, apologizing for the unexpected outburst. However, she simply smiles, acknowledging the effort everyone had put in. More than anything, the director is grateful to Seong. Without him, the Kai situation could have turned out much worse. He assures them that there will be no additional filming required, and the company will ensure their payment is handled properly. Hearing this, Seong feels a deep sense of satisfaction. As his mother prepares to leave, she asks if they should head home. Before they can go, Seon-mi approaches with an offer. She suggests driving them home in her van. Accepting the kind gesture, they leave together. During the ride, exhaustion finally catches up with Seong, and he drifts off to sleep. Watching him, Seon-mi can't help but comment on how peaceful he looks. His mother, glancing at him affectionately, acknowledges that he must have been worn out from the day's events. She expresses gratitude for being given a ride in such a nice car. Seon-mi, however, insists that she should be the one thanking Seong. Her words confuse his mother at first. She then elaborates, explaining that Seong had been an exceptional lead actor that day. Because of him, she had finished work early. His ability to follow the camera, his awareness of the angles, and his understanding of the scene's rhythm all set him apart. Every movement he made was deliberate yet natural. To her, he wasn't just a child playing a role, he was already a complete actor. Hearing this, Seong's mother is left speechless. Then Seon-mi continues, revealing that she has a proposal to make. Just as she speaks, Seong stirs awake. Hearing her words, both he and his mother are left stunned by the unexpected suggestion. A small smile plays on Seong's lips as he awaits what is to come next. Inside Seong's home, the atmosphere is filled with astonishment as the landlord hands over the payment for his acting role. The total amount comes to 4 million won. Initially, set at 3 million, the director had insisted on increasing it, leading to the generous sum. Seong's parents are left speechless at the sight of so much money, unable to believe their fortune. Seong too is elated. In his mind, he reaffirms that choosing child acting had been the right decision. There is no other way to earn such a large amount while trapped in a baby's body. This money would serve as perfect starting capital, something he could invest wisely, perhaps in stocks or gold. His father, overwhelmed with excitement, marvels at the sum, admitting that he has never held so much money in his hands before. His mother, however, appears deep in thought. Without hesitation, she hands a card to the landlord, explaining that actress Seon-mi had given it to her the previous night.
Seong recognizes it instantly and understands why his mother is so taken aback. The landlord, too, is momentarily stunned as she examines the card. It bears the name of Seon-mi's agency, Sin Song Entertainment. Seong's mother hesitantly shares the
unexpected news. Seon-mi had taken a strong liking to Seong and wanted to bring him into Sinsong Entertainment as an exclusive child actor. This revelation takes his father by surprise. The idea of their baby becoming a celebrity had never crossed his mind. His mother remains uncertain, hoping for Seong's success but unable to grasp how things had escalated so quickly. Sensing their concerns, the landlord immediately reassures them. She promises to look into the agency, check its reputation, and find out more about its CEO and how they treat their actors. This gesture of support brings visible relief to Seong's mother, who hadn't expected such dedication. Even Seong is impressed, silently noting how far the landlord is willing to go to help them. Before leaving, the landlord congratulates Seong on his official debut as a commercial model and shares that the advertisement will air in 2 weeks. Just as she is about to step out, Seong's mother calls out to her, causing her to pause. Curious, the landlord asks if she is feeling uneasy about something. His mother, however, has a different question in mind. She wants to understand why the landlord had been so supportive. Time and again, she had recognized Seong's talent and stepped forward to help them in every possible way. The landlord's expression softens as she explains herself. Having lived alone since she was young, she had endured many hardships. She had saved every penny, sacrificing food and clothing just to afford the building they now live in. When Seong's parents had moved in, they had left a lasting impression on her. Seeing a young couple working hard together had filled her with admiration, and she had simply wanted to cheer them on. In the end, she admits, it was just her way of being nosy, and she hoped they didn't feel burdened by her actions. Hearing this heartfelt confession, Seong's mother smiles warmly. She then makes a request, one that catches the landlord completely off guard. She asks if she can call her Uni, a term of endearment meaning older sister. The landlord is momentarily taken aback, but Seong's mother continues, expressing her desire to treat her like family. She wants to cook side dishes for her just as she would for a close relative. Touched by the sentiment, the landlord lets out a small smile before agreeing. From that moment on, she will start calling her by her given name, So Young. This exchange brings a sense of warmth and newfound closeness between them. Seong, quietly listening to the entire conversation, can't help but smile. A deep sense of contentment settles over the room as everyone basks in the happiness of the moment. 2 weeks pass, and the long-awaited day arrives. Seong's father, brimming with excitement, eagerly informs his boss, Park Won, that they have closed the shop, early, just as planned. In return, Park Won, holding Seong in his arms, expresses his own enthusiasm for watching the commercial. Since their shop has a large TV, it is the perfect place to gather and celebrate Seong's debut. Seong, in his mind, assesses the situation. Normally, he wouldn't tolerate such familiarity from this old man, but considering the favor he owes him, he decides to let it slide just this once. Moments later, the landlord arrives, greeted warmly by Seong's mother. She has made it just in time as the commercial is about to air. As she settles in, she comments on how it feels like they are all gathered for a movie night. Seong's father, unable to contain his anticipation, urges everyone to take their seats. As the commercial begins playing, the atmosphere is filled with excitement as the screen lights up. Everyone watches intently, captivated by the well-executed advertisement. Seon-mi and Seong's performances stand out, their expressions flawless, their presence natural. By the time the commercial ends, Seong's family and friends can't hide their joy. Applause breaks out, with Park Won clapping enthusiastically. The landlord, equally impressed, praises the production, pointing out how polished and well-edited it was. She even speculates that if things go well, the commercial might win the advertisement of the year. Seong, hearing her keen observation, acknowledges her sharp eye for such things. Overwhelmed with pride, Seong's father embraces him tightly, marveling at how such a charming and well-mannered child could be his son. Just then, the ringing of a phone interrupts their celebration. A call has come through to Park Won's shop. Answering it casually, he informs the caller that they are closed for the day. However, his expression quickly shifts to one of surprise upon realizing who is on the other end. It is none other than the director of Seong's commercial. The director, aware that the family had gathered to watch the advertisement, has something urgent to discuss. He requests to speak with them immediately. Seong's parents arrive at the director's apartment, warmly welcomed as they step inside. The director's gaze falls on Seong, who responds with a cheerful smile. Much to the director's surprise, he notes how much more expressive the child has become, realizing that Seong is already talking more than before. Seong's mother, amused, explains that he is at the stage of learning to speak, constantly babbling throughout the day. The director, pleased with the progress, considers the possibility of giving him longer lines in future projects. Seong, excited by the prospect, recognizes that he is steadily moving toward becoming a full-fledged actor. The discussion soon shifts to the real reason for the meeting. The director reveals his plans for a new reality show featuring Seong as the lead, titled Just Baby? The program is a parenting reality show where 5 well-known idol members will live together and care for Seong. Before the parents can fully process the idea, a young man enters the room, greeting them warmly. He is Tae-hyung, the leader of Just. Seong's mother immediately lights up with excitement upon recognizing him. Noticing her enthusiasm, Tae-hyung acknowledges that she seems familiar with their group. She admits to having seen them on television, which only makes him more determined to continue working hard toward their goal of becoming the nation's top idol group. Seong's father, on the other hand, is less than pleased, feeling a pang of jealousy at his wife's enthusiasm. Observing his father's reaction, Seong can't help but find it amusing, silently thinking that jealousy is never a good look. The director assures them that once filming begins, they will meet the rest of the idol members. However, Seong's mother voices her concerns about whether this would be too overwhelming for her young son. Hearing this, Seong makes a mental note to remember that his mother had chosen him over an idol. The director emphasizes that Seong is the heart of the program. His ability to empathize, his expressive face, and his awareness of the camera make him irreplaceable. Without him, the show wouldn't be the same. Tae-hyung, recognizing the opportunity, grows more excited. He recalls watching this very show in his past life. The unique concept of idols struggling with childcare had captivated audiences, turning the program into a national sensation. It was the first of its kind, setting the standard for the parenting reality genre. For Seong, a future child star with ambitions of building wealth, this is the perfect stepping stone. However, his father remains hesitant. He worries that, too, much exposure might prevent Seong from growing up like a normal child. His desire is to raise him with love, not as a celebrity. The director, taken aback by the concern, hesitates, but Tae-hyung steps in to share his own experience. He had also started as a child actor and understood the challenges of growing up in the public eye. Despite the constant attention, he had no regrets. The right environment had allowed his talent to shine, leading him to where he was today. Encouraging Seong's father to trust his son, he urges him to give Seong the opportunity to reach his full potential. Hearing this, Seong's father turns to his son, reflecting on his natural talent and charm. If his destiny is to rise to the top, perhaps it is only right to let him shine. Finally, he reaches a decision and shakes the director's hand, entrusting Seong to his care. With the contract signed, preparations for Korea's first-ever parenting reality show, Just Baby, officially begin. The countdown to the first day of filming unfolds. Day 12, contract finalized. Day 5, concept shoot completed. And finally, Day 0, the highly anticipated first day of filming. The idol group members arrive one by one. First comes Tae-hyung, followed by Lucas, Jae, Bumzu, and finally, Michael. Seong's mother, overjoyed. To meet them, can't hide her excitement. Seeing her reaction, Jae playfully mentions that he had heard she was a fan. Her husband, watching from the side, is visibly irritated. The director soon gathers everyone, explaining that they would begin filming at Just's dorm. The broadcasting station has high hopes for the show, so they need to stay focused and deliver their best performance. Seong observes them carefully, recognizing each of them from his past life. He recalls how these same idols had performed at his company's events before. One of the members approaches Seong, scrutinizing him with mild disappointment. He comments that the baby doesn't seem that cute and attempts to pick him up. Seong, unimpressed by the casual treatment, immediately pushes his hand away. In his mind, he finds it ridiculous that someone would dare touch him so carelessly. Another member steps in, scolding the first for not washing his hands after smoking. A baby shouldn't be handled with dirty hands. Seong, recalling this particular Korean-American member's troublesome nature from his past life, makes a decision. He will take control of the show. He will shape the perfect character arcs for everyone. With that in mind, he puts on his most adorable smile, instantly winning over the entire room as the others gush over his cuteness. The previously dismissed member stands at a distance, watching with a knowing smirk, his expression suggesting that he isn't about to give up so easily. The director gathers everyone and outlines the filming schedule. Over the next 3 days, they will conduct pre-filming sessions at Just's dorm. The recorded footage will then be edited into 3 pilot episodes, allowing viewers' reactions. To determine the regular broadcast schedule, daytime filming will proceed as planned, while at night, observation cameras will take over. As the staff leaves, Seong's parents are offered accommodations at a nearby hotel, assuring them that their son will be cared for with utmost caution. Hearing this, the idols enthusiastically reassure Seong's parents, promising to take good care of him. With the plan in place, the director signals everyone to do their best. The assistant director then sets up the first scene, beginning with a narration. The storyline introduces 5 young men living in a semi-basement in Seoul, striving to become top idols when their lives suddenly take an unexpected turn with the arrival of a baby. As the cameras roll, all 5 actors turn to look at Seong, who simply stares back at them without any reaction. The sudden silence leaves them momentarily stunned. Seong's mother, watching from the sidelines, hesitates before quietly asking if there are any scripted lines. The assistant director reminds her that this is a reality show. Natural reactions are key. However, the idols, unfamiliar with handling a baby on camera, whisper among themselves, unsure of how to proceed. Observing their hesitation, Seong quickly realizes that he needs to take charge. Understanding that a baby in a new environment would naturally feel unsettled, he suddenly bursts into loud cries. The unexpected reaction startles the idols, prompting Taehyung to quickly lift him into his arms. Another member, noticing Taehyung's awkward hold, steps in and gently takes Seong instead. His soft tone calms Seong almost instantly, surprising the others. Confidently, he remarks that babies always respond well to handsome faces. This sparks a playful debate among the idols, each trying to prove their own charm. As Seong watches their interactions, he silently analyzes their personalities. Taehyung embodies the responsible leader, exuding a fatherly presence. Jae, with his gentle and narcissistic nature, fits the role of a caring mother figure. Lucas, the easygoing athlete, carries the warmth of an older brother, while Boomzu, quiet yet considerate, subtly looks out for the others. Together, they form the perfect group dynamic for a household setting. Shifting his gaze to another member, Seong considers how best to categorize him. Though he would have made an excellent villain, Seong decides that for the sake of the group's success, it is better to position him as a rival instead. With this thought, he shoots a sharp glare in his direction. Meanwhile, the pink-haired idol notes that Seong likely needs a diaper change. Taehyung, visibly uneasy, admits that he has never handled a diaper before. Stepping forward with confidence, Michael takes over, assuring everyone that it is no big deal. However, just as he begins the task, Seong suddenly urinates directly onto Michael's face. Feeling utterly refreshed, Seong can't help but relish the moment. The sight of Michael's stunned reaction leaves Taehyung in shock, while the rest of the idols burst into laughter. Furious, Michael shouts in frustration, but Taehyung quickly intervenes, attempting to calm him down. The entire crew finds the situation hilarious, their laughter echoing around the set. Seong, satisfied with the chaos, recognizes the comedic value of the moment. It is exactly the kind of spontaneous humor that makes reality shows entertaining. The shoot has been a success. As filming continues, the day gradually turns into evening. The director announces a 2-hour break before resuming with the next segment. The idols, already exhausted, murmur among themselves about how challenging reality shows are, wishing they had a script to follow. During the break, Seong's mother approaches him with a smile, praising him for his performance. Noting that he must be hungry after all the activity, she hands him a banana. Seong, delighted, eagerly takes a bite. Reflecting on his past life, he realizes he had never given bananas much thought before, but now they taste incredible. Meanwhile, Taehyung approaches Seong's father, suggesting that he could speak more casually with him. He then admits that being around Seong has an unusual effect. Whenever Seong is nearby, he finds himself naturally immersed in the moment. Despite the lack of a script, everything seems to flow perfectly, as if Seong instinctively understands each person's role and plays along accordingly. Seong's father dismisses it as mere coincidence, but Taehyung isn't convinced. Even as a baby, Seong shines brighter than he had expected. Elsewhere, Michael emerges from the shower, still fuming over what had happened earlier, muttering to himself as he questions whether babysitting is even something an artist should be doing. At that moment, the assistant director places a container in the fridge, explaining that it is baby food for Seong's evening meal. Michael, eyeing it with a smirk, takes it from his hands and assures him that he will prepare and feed Seong himself. As he walks away, he reaches into his pocket, revealing a small packet of chili sauce. You want part 2? Write in the comments the secret word, rich, so I'll know you've watched to the end. Don't forget to subscribe and like. See you later, and bye-bye.